Wait a minute.
Okay.
This is the Edition Unfiltered podcast.
Do you remember the first time you ever traveled alone and how that felt like? Or even forget about traveling. Do you remember what it feels like to be completely disregarded for anything because you're either too young and too inexperienced to understand how the world works? So I'm about to take you on a really wild and crazy and emotionally charged experience for me. Hopefully you'll feel the same. It's been a while since I've mentioned this before, so I might be rusty on the details. But basically, moral of the story is United is the worst airline ever. I'm not being dramatic. I'm not exaggerating. It is in fact literal death. If I believe that that's what death is like, which clearly it isn't. But you get the inference. So let's start at the beginning. Here's the story. I'm going to set up the stage. I'm going to build up to the climax, and I'm going to get to the conclusion. So let's go with the beginning. Once upon a time. So this is back in 2017. I had just moved from Kenya to the States. I lived in Illinois, and I had started working, making my own dough, if you will. Really, really proud of myself. And we're in August. It's been 8 months since I've been home, since I've seen my family, my friends, my home. And I decide, you know what, I'm going to treat myself because I've been really good with my college grades. I've been really good with working and making money. So I'm going to fly down to Nairobi. And that led me on a deep dive into finding flights that I could afford. Now, mind you, let's imagine when I say I'm making my own dough, I'm not clearly making enough dough to treat a whole population or family. I'm just making enough to barely scrape by, like a little extra funds that you can have. So it's not a lot. And keeping this in mind, I'm looking for cheap tickets to fly with. I don't know if I've caused myself to lose the case by saying I was looking for cheap tickets, but at the end of the day, a plane is a plane. It gets you from point A to point B. So if you're one of those people that says I shouldn't be complaining, well, let me tell you the rest of the story. Hold your judgment. So I finally find this ticket for United from Chicago to Nairobi to Chicago, $635. If I remember correctly. I was ecstatic. $635 for a return ticket in December. Oh, I was like, I'm booking this right now. So I did. But when I was booking the ticket, let's digress for a second here. So, you know when your gut tells you something and you put it aside and you don't listen to it? This is one of those moments where I wish I had. It's those teaching moments, excruciatingly painful teaching moments, but teaching moment nonetheless. Listen to that gut. Listen to that feeling inside that's telling you not to do something or to do something because it is 100% right. So back to the story. As I was hitting pay, I had a feeling inside that was telling me to reconsider and pick the next flight, but I didn't do that. Right. So I booked the ticket. I paid the ticket. I got my itinerary. Here it is. I fly from Chicago to Newark, which is in New Jersey. It's the New Jersey airport. And from there, I have a 2-hour hold. And then I fly from Newark to Zurich. And then from Zurich to Nairobi. It takes me, I think, 21 hours. I have a 4 or 3-hour hold in Zurich. And that was the flight. So I'm excited, packing my stuff in. The day comes and shit starts going wrong from the minute I hit the airport. My cousin had come to drop me off, and we were checking in, and we were using the kiosks, the automated kiosks, because United had them, and all I had to do was just drop off my bags and check in through this kiosk. And while I was doing that, I checked in and everything. I scanned my passport, got in my baggage ticket claims things. So as we were sticking them on the bags, I gave my cousin to hold on to those little tags that you have that let you know what the bag tag is, like basically what your bag is in case it gets lost. Now what she did was she just went and threw them away, and I was like, shit dude, why did you those are my baggage tags. If the bags get lost, this is what's gonna give me back my bag. And she's like, have you ever really needed these? And I thought about it and I was like, not really. But again, my gut was like, you need those. Pick them out of the trash and get them. And I was like, dude, I feel like we should get them. She's like, no, you really don't need them. Why are you freaking out? And so I was like, okay, fine. Let's just go on. And so dropped off the bags, went through the security check, was at my gate, finally got into the flight. Now, this is a 1-hour flight from Chicago to New York. I'm sitting on the plane and I have this like nervous feeling, and I'm like, oh damn, I wish the flight takes off on time. I wish it takes off on time. And finally, when it gets to the runway, I'm like, oh, worrying for no reason. I took that sigh of relief a little too early, because literally 5 minutes later, the captain is like, oh, we have to go back to the gate because there's been some sort of issue. I don't remember what the issue was, but we had to go back to the gate. Now we're sitting there and I'm like, this is the worst. What the shit? We keep hearing, oh, just 1 hour more, 30 minutes, 20 minutes. And then it got to the point where they made us disembark the plane. Now I'm like, fuck, right? Also, I forgot to mention this. When I was getting onto the plane, they had, I guess, too many handbags on board, and the flight attendant was like, we're going to have to check in your bag. And I was like, okay. So now I'm left with just my purse, not even a handbag, like a purse. And this is December and I'm dressed for summer. I'm dressed for tropical weather and it's freezing cold. Like it's negative in the States and I'm dressed for 25 degrees. Okay, now we're on the plane, all this stuff happens and we get off the plane. And as we're getting off the plane, I go to the hostess outside the gate and I'm like, dude, I have to get to Jersey because if I miss that flight, then I'm going to miss the other flight in Zurich. And she's like, we're doing everything we can to get you on that plane. And she's like, why don't you sit onto this other plane and then we'll get your bags to you later. And I was like, that makes zero sense because if my bags are in this plane and I go there and I get on there on time, say I get there on time I'm sitting onto my next flight, but my bags are still in Chicago. What the hell good is that going to do me? And I was really frustrated because they weren't giving us a proper response. They weren't giving me accurate times of when they would be able to fly. So I'm having first of all, this is my first time flying alone. And so I'm freaking out because I'm like, what the shit? Somebody give me a proper answer. And nobody's talking to me properly because I'm too young. Like nobody seems to take what I say very seriously because they're just like, oh yeah, we can just shush her by because she doesn't know anything, which made me even more angry. Anyway, now I have no other choice but to sit there and wait. So finally boarded back on the plane, and this is like 4 hours later. I've clearly missed my flight, and now I'm in New Jersey, Newark. I get off the plane, and there's like a United post stand there where you go if you like delays and miss your flight and whatever. And so I go there, and the lady's like, oh my god, you're in luck. We have another flight to Zurich that's taking off in 4 hours. And I was like, that's perfect. And she's like, do you have your bag tags? And I was like, shit. No, I do not. She was nice enough to get me the number. She's like, make sure you keep these very safe. And so I did. I had those very safe inside. I made sure not to lose them. So now I'm in the terminal for United flights. And so for me to go to my next flight, I have to go to another terminal, which means I have to take the train. I don't know where the train is. Nobody at this airport is helpful. I finally find some security guard who looks like he has a friendly face. I approach him and I'm like, hey, I need to get to the terminal with Swiss Air. Would you show me the way? And he's like, yeah, go down the stairs, take the train, get off at the 5th stop or something. So I do that. I get there, I see the Swiss desk, I go up to them and I'm like, hi, I'm checking in. United sent me over to you guys to fly. I need you guys to give me a seat and stuff. And things are looking great. I'm like, oh, have my flight there. Everything's wonderful. Again, sigh of relief a little too early because here comes the third or fourth. Actually, I've lost count. Here comes another problem. As she's about to check me in and get me a seat assigned, she realizes that I don't have a visa for Switzerland. And I was like, why do I need a visa when I'm just transiting? She's like, well, your transit is going to last 24 hours or something because the next flight to Kenya is the next day at 9 a.m. There's only one flight that flies from Switzerland to Kenya, and that is once a day. And by the time the flight that I'm about to board will get there, the flight to Nairobi would already have taken off. So I have to be at the airport for an extended period of time. And because of that, I need to have a transit visa. And I was like, okay, well, clearly I did not know this because when flying the flight that I just missed, I would have only been at the airport for 4 hours. And so I didn't need a transit visa. These are circumstances that are out of my hand. And she's like, yeah, but sorry, we can't seat you on the plane because you don't have a transit visa. And I was like, okay, but I have a green card. She's like, yeah, but a green card is not the same as having an American passport. If you had an American passport, that would be no issue because you can enter the country without a visa. But since you have a Kenyan passport, you need a transit visa. And it's like, okay, but is my green card not equivalent? And she's like, no, I'm sorry. And I was like, what is happening? Okay, and at this point, here comes the really sad part. When I was on the plane from Chicago to New York is when I found out that my cousin grandfather, we're Indians, we're very close to everyone, but my mom's uncle, who is very dear to me, and I call him a grandfather as well, and had passed away. And I was actually really looking forward to seeing him, but he had passed away. So I was obviously upset. I think that's an added factor into what really bolstered my feelings. But so I'm at this desk and I'm, okay, well, what can you do? Because I have to make it in time for the funeral, which was on Sunday. And if I go this route, by the time I get there, everything would be done. And she's like, there's nothing we can do. I'm so sorry to hear that. But then she's like, you know what? 1 minute. Let me go to Ethiopian Airlines. And because this is all Star Alliance. United is part of Swiss and Ethiopian Airlines, and there's like a whole bunch of other airlines that have Star Alliance. That's why I could fly with Swiss as well, just in case I didn't mention that before. So she goes up to Ethiopian airline desk and she goes to the guy and she talks to him. She's a really nice lady. I don't think I'll ever forget her, but she comes back smiling and I'm like, okay, we have some good news now. And she's like, okay, so they have one seat left and you can go there but they're leaving in the next hour. So give me your bag tags and I'll get your stuff transferred over to them. And I was okay, I don't have my bag tags, but I have the numbers. And she's like, that's fine. She's like, quickly just go run to that desk before they close it because they're going to stop checking in people like now because they're going to fly soon. So I'm literally running to that place. I tell him the whole story. I'm like, this is what happened. This is what's going on. Like, da 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 da. He looks me up and down and he's like, no. And I was like, what do you mean no? And he's like, no, we're full. And I was like, okay, but you just spoke to the lady from Swiss Air and you said that I could fly. And he's like, no. Okay. Now you can only imagine how much stress and fear, and I don't know, at this time I'm feeling, I want to cry. I'm so scared. I don't know what to do. So I go into the corner and I cry because I'm a very emotional person and I guess I couldn't hold my tears back. Right now, I'd like to think of myself as I'm more ferocious. I'm not going to take your shit. But at that point in time or in my life, I was still very naive. I don't think I'm as naive as I was, but scared. I hadn't been exposed to all of this stuff. I didn't know how it works. I didn't know how to stand up for myself. I just kind of like was a pushover. I cried for a while. And then the lady at Swiss Air saw me and she called me over. And so I stopped crying by the time I get to her. And I'm like, well, he said no. So she's like, okay, let me come with you. So she comes with me and and they start talking to each other and I can't hear anything because I'm not really processing anything. I'm just trying to hold back my tears. I have this big lump in my throat. You know when you have that like huge lump and you just can't do anything. And so trying not to cry and trying not to show my weakness in front of this really racist, pissy dude. And he's just like, no. Literally, he's in the most rude way ever. He's like, no. And I was like, it's okay. It's fine. The lady was really trying really hard. And she's like, I'm so sorry. You have to go back to United because there's nothing that we can do because you don't have the transit visa. And so I'm like, fine. Now I'm back on the train trying to find my way back to United. And I finally get to United and I'm trying to get to this help desk. And the line is freaking insane because there's a storm coming in. And so majority of the flights have been cancelled, right? That's the other thing that came into this place is that it was the first storm that came in for winter and shit was going crazy. Visibility was low, flights weren't taking off because of that, and so all the other flights were grounded and delayed, and so the line was enormous. Now, I had landed in New York at 4:00. It's now 9:00 and I'm still stranded. I haven't eaten in over 14 hours. I haven't drank a sip of water. I'm dehydrated, I'm hungry, I'm tired, I'm cold, I'm alone. And I finally get to someone who can help me at the United desk. I'm trying to explain the whole story to her again. And then she's like, there's a flight taking off from Zurich at 11 o'clock. And I was like, oh. And then I explained to her the same thing again. I was like, I can't be on that flight because I have a Kenyan pass. I had to dumb it down for her, and she still couldn't understand. And I was like, can you please get your supervisor or someone who can comprehend simple English? I can't be on that flight. I don't have a visa. End of story. And so she had to call somebody in to help me out. And this guy was like, okay, I understand what's happening. Let me get you on the next flight. And the next flight to Zurich that I could be on was the next day at 7 p.m. So almost 24 hours later. This is the best I can get. Let me just get, I can't do anything about this at this point. This is what I have to get. So with much reluctance, I asked the lady, I was like, are you guys going to give me a place to stay? And she was like, yeah, we'll give you a place to stay. And I was like, what about food stamps? And she gave me a $10 food stamp or food voucher. Sorry, not food stamp, but $10 food voucher. I'm at the airport. What the shit am I gonna get with $10? I can't even get a bottle of water. Okay, well, I can get a bottle of water, but you know what I mean? That's all I'm gonna get, a bottle of water, and that's it. What the fuck am I gonna do with $10 for 24 hours? And I was like, this is not enough. I haven't eaten dinner. I haven't eaten lunch. I haven't had anything to drink because you guys have been tossing me around like I'm a tennis ball at the tennis court, and you guys are having a match. She was like, nope. And just $10 is not enough. And she gives me $10 more. And I was like, are you kidding me right now? You want me to do $20 for 24 hours at the, I was so frustrated. I was like, okay, well, you need to give me something for lunch, dinner, and breakfast. And that was the first time that night I had actually spoken up, because you can tell at this point I was emotionally drained, physically drained. Every terrible feeling had just all formed a mixture of a solution and just been dumped onto me, and I had just had enough. Anyway, I finally get this lady to give me a $40 food vouchers, which I still think is not enough, because even if I went to get a decent meal at the airport, I would use $40 for one. But again, like I said in the beginning, nobody really wanted to take me seriously because I was a child. I get all this stuff. She gives me the hotel voucher as well, and I'm still, let's not forget, I just have a small purse that could only fit a phone and my passport. That's all I have on me. I don't have anything else because United took all my stuff with them, all my hand luggage, when I was boarding the flight. So now this lady is like, okay, well, you need to go out and a bus is going to come pick you up and they're going to take you to, I don't know, it was Holiday Inn or something. I don't remember what it was. It wasn't Holiday Inn. It was definitely not even as fancy as Holiday Inn. So now I'm outside and it's freezing cold. Please remember that. And I'm dressed for the summer. I waited outside for 25 minutes. My phone is about to die. I have no way of calling anybody. My charger is not even with me because everything is in my hand luggage. I have no other way of contacting anyone, and there's nobody around. Now it's 12 a.m. There's nobody around. I can't see anybody. I've been standing outside in the freezing cold for 25 minutes, worried that I'm going to miss the bus, only to find that every other bus that comes in is not the bus that's going to take me to the airport. Wow, I need to breathe. And I said airport, but I meant hotel. I see somebody there. I think it was the watchman, and I go up to him and I'm like, this is the airport that I need. Why do I keep saying airport? This is the hotel that I need to get to. I haven't seen a bus come right now. And he's like, you know what? It's just come. Let me take you. I was so grateful for this man. So I get onto this bus. He's taking us to the hotel. So I go to the front desk. She checks me in and everything. And I was like, I have a flight tomorrow at 7 p.m. What do you think is the best time for me to leave from here? And she's like, well, our checkout is at 11. I'm sorry, what? What do you want me to do? And I was like, can I pay extra or anything? She's like, no, we're fully booked tomorrow. Okay, I'm trying not to cry now. I think I've exhausted my tears or dried up my eyes or something. Clearly things could literally not get any worse than this. I felt like I'm at the ground. There's a pile of feces on me and then vomit. It basically could not get any worse than this. And I get to bed and I'm crying because I'm so scared. You can just imagine how scared I was, that if I could go back and hug myself, I would that night, because I was so alone. My phone was dead. I didn't have a charger with me. I was completely alone. I don't know. I don't know how I made it through that night. I think things started looking up the next day. I went into the bus and this guy who was driving me back was so very helpful. He's like, you know what? I'm not going to drop you off, so you have to take the train and everything. I'll drop you off right at the gate. So he he was really nice. He took me right at the gate, just when I thought things were getting better, right? Just when I thought, okay, this is a good sign. I have to go to the kiosk to check in again because they're not really taking check-ins at that line. Nobody's there because everyone is occupied with dealing with people who've missed their flights, and nobody's really at the check-in gate, and so you have to check in through the kiosk. And so I'm using the boarding pass and I'm scanning it, and they kept saying error. Are you kidding me? And so now I'm standing in a line that's almost 2 miles long because, like I mentioned, everyone else is backlogged and flights have delayed, and so they're all in this help desk line. And by the time I got to the airport at 11:30. By the time I get to the help desk, it's like 2 p.m. now, and please remember, I still haven't eaten anything. I haven't drank anything because anything that the vouchers that they gave me was only for the airport. So I had to get into the airport, and I'm still at the desk to check in. I finally get there. It takes this lady 30 minutes to figure out what the shit is going on, and I have to say the same story over and over again, which I'm completely tired of because people don't seem to understand that you need a visa to be in Switzerland. And she's like, why didn't they just give you the flight to take yesterday? And I was like, oh, headache. Things finally, I guess, cleared up, and she checked me in, and she's like, okay, you're good to go. And that is when I'm finally inside the airport just waiting for my next flight. At this point, I'm like, I don't even care if we're delayed or not, because what can I do? Clearly, things are out of my control, and they're going to stay out of my control, and nobody's going to listen to me because I guess I'm not loud enough, or not, which is ironic because I'm really loud or assertive enough, or whatever it is. But yeah, please don't ever fly United if you have to. And you can see the title of this episode is United Breaks Guitars, because that is actually what they did. If you look up United Breaks Guitars, you'll find a song that United Breaks Guitars, written by a singer whose guitar was broken by United, and then United held no culpability of it, and they didn't give him the time of day. They didn't call him back, and so he wrote the song to gain their attention. That just shows what kind of shitty ass airline this place is. I don't even know how it's still standing. But this leaves me to segue into the next episode, which is still going to be about airlines, because we need to discuss how shitty airlines like United still have the time of day, how people still fly through them. And this is really interesting for anybody who's even interested, and I learned this in my marketing class, of how they're still a viable airline and how people still choose to fly with them, even despite having such horrendous experiences. And yeah, that was the story of the worst time of my life. Well, not the worst time of my life. That's for another day. But don't ever fly United. If given the choice, walk to your destination, then fly United.